All right, welcome one and all to our end of the year coverage, our annual videos we're going through now, and one we just started last year is our top 10 everything. You know, we don't do like everybody else where we got top 10 movies, top 10 games, top 10 shows. No, nothing like that. It's all in one for us. So it's
Right, it's
truly,
the top 10
it's difficult.
all in one. Now, I might audible for next year. We do start to include things that we did because I can definitely say that there were some things that I did that probably would outrank the
We
particulars
already got
of
enough
things
things
that I
in this
experienced.
top 10 in the mix.
I know. We could do we could do a 3x3, a 9x9, a 3x3 to make it less but more.
A 3x3 grid
Yeah,
of of
so that's
things.
only 9 things, but
That's a great idea. We'll do a top
it's
nine instead.
yeah, top 9. No, 3x3s is like that's like an old anime forum thing.
Sure,
So yeah.
sure. Not me though.
But yeah, no, top tens. Here we go. We got top 10 things all in one package.
Okay, so important
So
ground rules to set as well going into this is that,
yeah.
um, and I feel like I got some good reasoning behind why this is, but the way our thing is formatted is first of all, our top 10 consists of it can and may it consists of movies, television shows, and video games. These are the three
Hmm.
things that could be in our top tens. It could be all movies, all games, or it could be a mix of all, just depending on what hits our top 10. Um, but the key is that there aren't necessarily things that came out in the year 2023. Our top 10 is more about our personal experiences in 2023. So there are games we've finished in 2023 for the first time, or movies or shows we've watched for the first time in 2023. They could have come out at any time. Of course, there will always be some 2023 elements involved, but theoretically, none of the top 10 could have come out in 2023. It's just all about what our year was like for us. And yeah, an important distinction is that for video games, you have to have finished it this year, which I know for me is gonna make a bunch of ones that definitely would have been in my top 10, not in my top 10. Um,
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that are not in my top 10 because of that, for sure.
so we could probably
And
do
my top 10
some.
was already extremely difficult.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw a lot of movies that I didn't really talk about. I may have talked about on the podcast. I don't remember. But I saw movies that we didn't ever review on here. And so that made paring things down. Because um, although I tend to be more critical of movies, I also just love a lot of things. So that makes it really hard for me to like pick and choose. I still technically have 11 things on my list. I just don't know what I'm pairing off as between 11 and 10 here is the real
Mm.
difficulty.
And I mean, we
So
can do some honorable mentions at the end. I think would be best because if we say honorable mentions now, I would probably be able to,
yeah,
at least myself, like it might spoil a little bit of the surprise. So, if will this thing be in your list or not? Um,
yeah. We will do honorable mentions at the end. I think would be for the
so
best.
here's my thing with the whole element of like we have to finish the game in 2023. To me, it's a couple different things. It encourages us to finish games more because it's like if you don't finish this game, it's not going to be in
Yeah,
your top 10, even if you might love it and tout it to the world. It's like you haven't finished the game, it doesn't get to be in the top 10. And there are plenty
that's
of
great.
games where I actually put in several hours, probably technically more hours than some games that made on my list, but did not did not beat them, so they didn't make the list. But they're definitely possible to be on the next year's list as well. And
Mm,
because it gets tough otherwise if you like, let's say you play like half a game, like roughly you played halfway through a game this year. It's like you put that on your list this year, and then it could just as easily also be next year. Like you can have, like you could have the same game in both years, things like that. So it's just cleaner to say finished this year, then it's eligible,
mm,
right?
hmm.
So do you have anything you want to preface going into how you went about making your choices, or just want to go into it?
Yeah, I mean, my choices were difficult. I had some stuff on my list that I there's some series that I finished seasons of, but I haven't finished like the whole series yet, so I don't want to cap it off yet.
Okay.
In fact, that actually just reminded me of a series that I did finish that's not on my list, and I will talk about it in honorable mentions. And it's literally just I just forgot because of how I watched the show, and we'll go into that honorable mentions, but won't get it too complicated there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just sort of figuring it out. I just kind of had to like start in order. Like, what happened in January, February? This is something that I am actually going to start doing this year is logging
Yeah.
what I see and how I see. Because there were some things that while I've been sort of like thinking about it, I've been thinking about it like casually over the course of the last week or so. But when I was like starting to write stuff down today, I was like, oh no, like I was suddenly remembering stuff like a couple hours later, I'd be like, oh my gosh, there was that thing.
Yeah.
And then so I had to add that, and um, so yeah, definitely. Year's a long time. I mean, lots of stuff happens. I mean, there was one thing on here that I was legitimately shocked because I forgot that it came out this year, and I don't know how. But
Yeah.
and it was and yeah, I won't say what it is.
It's a movie.
It is a movie. Okay, I'll say that.
We heard it.
There's more movies on here than anything else, but this is a movie that I saw. There is a movie that I saw. I mean, do you want to just get into it? Because if you want to just get into it,
Hold on, one
that
sec.
is my number 10.
All right,
Okay.
before we get
What
to
was
that.
your? Well, okay. Before we get into that, what was I guess your rationale then, or like your sort of process?
I want to first preface that I will not be including any reality television seasons in here at all.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna be recording a separate video, a solo video, just talking about all the reality TV I watched this year. Because I think I watched like about 10 different seasons of reality shows. And it's like maybe more, and most. I think I only had one show that wasn't reality in my whole that I finished at all this year. So I've severely lacked in terms of TV stuff. But yeah, I won't have reality stuff in here because. It could also be things like Survivor, which I can't really talk about with Alec in much detail, and
Appreciate that.
other things in reality. I'm always like keeping them as options in the future if there's like something we could explore. But yeah, for all you guys, I'll have a video. I think I'm gonna do a little ranking of like all the seasons of reality TV I've seen, and there'll be its own separate ranking. But I also want to make the distinction that when making this list, it's not what I would say the top 10 best things I experienced this year necessarily. They're top 10 favorites. So there are certain like movies that I would say are probably better than some of the movies on my lists, but it's just not wouldn't be my personal top 10 of the year. So it's very much like a subjective, like these are my favorites more than like if I were to make it all movies, not like these are the best movies of 2023. My favorites. So, yeah, but it's
that's always a good. I think that's it. That's a good way to look at it. Is a good thing. So, yeah.
It's a mixed bag, and as always, we'll be curious to see if anything from Tarqaron makes its way onto the list, and if so, where they fall, things like that. Always interesting to track in our top 10 because it could be interesting to compare as well. All right, so what's your number 10 for the year?
Okay, so my number 10 is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which was the feature film that came out back in March, which shocked me. I could have swore this came out in 2022. And the reason that I say that is because I've seen this movie like 3 or 4 times this year. I watched it a lot. I watched it in theaters. I think I went by myself. I watched it with my parents when it was on streaming, and then I watched it with my D&D group, my home D&D group, which I've been at horrible DM this year. We basically haven't really even had a session all in 2023. I got COVID early on. I fell behind on scheduling. I got behind on work. Like basically sucked everything out of my life, pretty much all the fun out of my life for a
Yeah.
lot of it. And so, but I cherish this movie greatly. It was everything that I could have ever wanted in a fantasy movie about Dungeons and Dragons. Because it does everything right. It does everything right. It has humor. It gets details about like the world and the magic right. It does so much in such a nice tight little package, and
Hmm.
it's just one of the most entertaining movies of the year. I mean, I loved it. Like I said, I've seen it 3 times. I would gladly watch it again. I mean, anytime anybody's gonna like say, "Hey, you want to watch that?" I'm gonna be like, "Absolutely." I love that movie, and yeah, it's just a spectacular time.
That's surprising to me that I've heard so many good things about it. So when I first heard about it, I was like, There's no way this is gonna be good, right? It's just gonna be like one of those
Yeah,
garbage cash grabs kind of things." But I'm glad
yeah,
it
and it
delivered.
kind of came on the heel. It kind of came on the heels of a lot of bad publicity for Wizards of the Coast. Like way or back in January, they were announcing that they were rescinding their open game license, which is basically their thing being like, hey, you can use our rule sets for free. Basically, it's like the rule compendium idea, like the framework for fifth edition and for Dungeons and Dragons in general. Any company can publish stuff like supplemental materials for it, and can make money on that. So they were rescinding that, and they were releasing a new one that was basically like, yeah, but if you make so much money, you have to pay us. Like you have to give us a big cut of the
Yeah.
money that you're making. And so a lot of companies were like, what? Why? What's going on? What the heck's going on with this? And so that actually did lead our personal D&D group is now technically our TTRPG group because we don't really play. We're playing Pathfinder now, which is they use a different gaming license. Theirs is free and open. Pathfinder has been a fun little excursion. We're still open to playing fifth edition because it's what we got cut and dry on, so we all kind of know how it works and how it plays. But and that's not my home group; that's my college group.
Hmm.
Um, and but anyway, all that aside, so there was a lot of drama. So earlier in the year, so I think some people were. I definitely know that there probably was a little bit of it probably was a little bit of ill will that could have lost at least some thousands of dollars at the box office probably from that. Um, but I mean, I went and saw it. I loved it still. And I've suggested it to basically everybody because I think it's just a fun fantasy movie.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Great. Yeah, it's interesting what you said about like it came out in March. It's weird how these yearly things always work that way. It's like things in January and February
yeah,
feel like a lifetime ago by the end of the year.
yeah,
And that's why I
yeah. They
often,
really do.
especially with the way we do our format, I wouldn't be surprised if things get snubbed or fall down the list just by nature of things being further and back in our mind. There's a game
Mm,
where I fully acknowledge that I played it very early on, and it's not on my list. Where it potentially could be above a couple games on my lists, uh, if it were more fresh in my mind. It's very possible.
mm.
But there's something I know. One thing we mentioned that is going to be on here that we reviewed because we both watched it very early on in the year, like day 2. So I'm sure that'll be here, but we'll see. Um, for my number 10, already dipping into Tarqaron stuff here. All right, this is The Fall of the House of Usher. It's my number 10.
Ooh,
All
very
right.
nice, very nice.
This is, I think, like the only actual TV show I watched and finished outside of reality TV. So, um,
Interesting.
worth noting for sure. We reviewed it on the channel, and it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
perfect by any means. We had our fair share of criticisms for it, but I still think it was excellent and excelled at the things it was trying to do. Just not quite at the level of like some of the other haunting shows and Midnight Mass and whatnot, but those shows would have been like towards the top of my top 10. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
it's
Oh
hard to
yeah.
live up to stuff like that. But I mean, it was killer execution in terms of like how they were telling the stories and weaving them all together, and the acting. It was great, like all stars of the Flanagan verse. So
Yeah.
it was,
Basically everybody. One wild thing that I had not heard about. It was just something that had just come up, or just like through my socials.
mhm.
But was that Bruce Greenwood was apparently a replacement
Oh yeah.
for the in the show? Yeah, I didn't know that. It was another actor who had been there was like some misconduct on set.
Oh
Um,
oh no.
that led to him getting replaced. Yeah, so like it was basically like everything that wasn't the scene with him in the one-on-one scene, everything that was shot with him with the family was basically like an emergency reshoot,
Wow.
which is crazy to me.
Because he
It's
killed
crazy to me
that.
because
Yeah.
he
He
nailed it.
was one of the standouts for sure.
Not yeah, it wasn't even close.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just like I mean, yeah, I
That is
can't even
interesting. Well, but that's a testament that it's in my top 10 that Mike Flanagan has yet to really drop the ball for us. We've reviewed every one of his horror and horror adjacent series that he's done on Netflix and whatnot on this channel. So go check those out if you're interested. Highly encourage you to watch through any, if not all, of his series. Pretty much in any order,
yeah,
but they're all worth watching.
for sure they're all worth watching. I mean, I think one of the things I want to do is visit a lot of his earlier films. I think I've said this in previous years. I think I've said this every time we have a chance to talk about him.
Hmm.
I was hoping in our film series that whoever I got picked with might pick something of his, but I
Right.
I put too many movies on my list. I made it too easy for someone to pick something else. So maybe I should just shut up and just do it myself. Um, so
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
Well, what's your number 9 here?
My number 9 is, and I'm realizing that there was stuff we watched for Tarqaron that I didn't put on my list, and I
Okay.
think that's going to change my list a little bit.
Oh, great.
That's really hard. It's
This is
really
why
hard.
logging comes in clutch here, because I have everything perfectly
Yeah,
laid out that I finished with
this,
no
this
question.
is the exact reason why. I'm gonna leave my. Here's the thing. I will leave my list intact, and I will explain that most of my list. I will say this. I'll go back and just say I was trying to focus on stuff that we didn't talk about on Tarkron, for the most part. Um,
Okay.
there were two things in particular. Well, there's a few things on here that are very Tarkaron related, but
Hmm.
most of which I was trying to think of just talking about, highlighting other things that I liked. So next on my list, we'll throw out. Yeah, we'll just say the Super Mario RPG remake.
Oh, okay.
It was a game. Uh, it was like a little warm blanket towards the end of the year. We did a full review on it. You can go check out my full thoughts on it there.
Yeah.
I don't need to go into too much detail, but it was a delight to gift that to both my dad and my nephews and nieces for Christmas. My probably by the time of recording this, my nephew Abel has probably already beaten it.
Wow.
He got it, and then I think the next time I saw him, he's like, "Hey, I have 5 of the seven stars," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was like, and then this past weekend they were visiting. I got horribly ill from something they gave me. It was a 24-hour bug that I got from them. It was awful. This was the worst sickness I ever had. And then I talked to him again after that, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm on the like last, I'm on the like really close to the last boss." So I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
You sped. It's not a big game. As
Wow.
many you just sped through that. It's like, wow, good for you.
That
But
is impressive.
it's pretty impressive. Just consumed it. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful, delightful game, and I think everybody deserves to play it. So
Yeah, we both spoke very very highly of it. I would say it's
yeah,
it's definitely a little too easy, but it's also the perfect starter
Yeah.
RPG and a great faithful remake. And what we love about the Mario RPGs in general, that we hope we get a return to form moving forward, because it's got all the variety of characters and wackiness
Hmm.
and heart and character that is
Yeah.
missing from some of the later ones. So
It's true. Yeah, there's definitely passion, passion on display, and I mean, give it up to the that team again. I mean, they deserve all the praise in the world for making.
I'll give it up.
Is it
I'll give it up.
Art Piazza? I think is the name
Mm,
of the studio that did the. I
not
think that was
sure,
it. They should
but
do an Earthbound remake. Just saying.
yeah.
Um,
Hopefully, we look back on 2023 as like this is it was an important turning point for the Mario
yeah,
RPGs. That
I
this was
hope so.
released. All
Yeah.
right.
So, yeah.
My number 9 is a game which definitely did not come out in 2023. It's very interesting. You might not expect to see it on my list. It's a little game called Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5.
Hey, I love this game, man.
It's such a gem. It's the perfect packing game for the PS5. It's like the
Isn't
best.
it?
I can't think of a better game that like showcases the the controller and the system. I actually really liked. I was between this and like a couple other games, were very much on the cusp of making it onto my list, and they're very interchangeable for
Mm,
me. But the one that I really wanted to give this one recognition, just for the how clever it was in implementing the controller and everything. And it was a nice, as someone who's not super like nostalgic about PlayStation in general, it was a nice, really thoughtful trip down the PlayStation memory lane. All these little hidden gems. Had fun collecting everything. It's a very, very simple, very easy platformer, but it's got a lot of heart with it, and it was kind of nice. It was like when I first played Final Fantasy 16, and then going into this, like when I had very minimal experience with the PS5, I was surprised to learn the different things the controller had, like the triggers and how they can like change resistance based on different parts of the game. I was like, wow, this is next level. And the fact that you get updates for your controller, like we're
yeah.
it's pretty gnarly. It's definitely one of my favorite controllers, period, and they do a great job at showcasing it through this platformer. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I really love. To me, it's cool seeing the games that really utilize the controller very well, and there have been a few. There's a game that this didn't quite make my list because I didn't technically beat it till the first of the year, so it may show up
Oh,
on next year's. Who knows? Who knows? But I beat it yesterday, so
damn.
um, but yeah. Well, blame it on my 24-hour bug. I probably would have beaten it earlier,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just an amazing showcase. It's just a great platformer too. I mean, you just can't ask for anything more than a solid 3D platformer to show off the cool bits of your new controller and your new system. So, and also celebrating Sony and PlayStation history. Like that was just such a cool thing
Yeah,
the game
you don't
does
really
too.
get that kind of thing often outside of Nintendo. Like Nintendo's also always very reflective of like looking back at
Yeah.
old games, re-releasing these old games from their history and stuff like that. But you don't really get that so much from PlayStation in that
Yeah.
same way. But yeah, so I mean, that's an indication that this was my first year with a PS5. So even though I'm a little late to the game, it was my first year with the PS5, which I bought for a game that I did not beat, so it was not on my list. So.
This is a whoops.
But I did beat Astro's Playroom. All right, you can never tell me otherwise. All right, what's next for you?
Okay, next for me is sure, I'll put it here. You may remember last year there was a movie that, well, if you go back and watch our previous video, there was a film that I mentioned. It was bit higher on my list, and that has nothing to do with how high necessarily I place this. It's just there's a lot of moving parts here, folks. So, um, but that was the Evangelion 3 film. So, and I was literally saying I'm gonna see the second one, the next one, the last film later this week.
Hmm.
And my number 8 is Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time.
No way.
Um,
That's not
the
real.
final film. That is the name of the movie. Yes.
Over 2 days.
Which is the last the last film in the Evangelion rebuild film sort of tetralogy, I guess you call it, because there's 4.
Wow.
And it's one of those movies that like I can't think of a more perfect ending for something that I've gone on record in saying like End of Evangelion is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's on my top 5 animated movies, I think, list. I believe it was on there. And to me, there's nothing that's been quite so like rewarding as a fan of that franchise as that final movie was. I think that it does such a good job at wrapping everything up in such a nice, tidy bow. I think Hideaki Anno has gone on record saying like, "Oh, it's not necessarily the end of Evangelion as like the series, that they may still do more things with like films or anything like that." But like to me, everything that the movie did, everything it needed to be done was done in the movie, and like soared over any expectations I could have had. It was one of the most beautiful animated films that I've seen. That's from out of Japan, which is saying a lot. It just did everything that I wanted as an Eva fan, and did things I didn't even know I wanted as an Eva fan, and it was just very satisfying conclusion. And yeah, I'm just glad to have it on here. There's definitely movies that I would say would maybe be greater that I saw that would be on my list, but we'll get into some of those later on. I've done some swapping on the fly here, but I think I want to highlight that one in particular because I think I like you were going with what you would consider favorites over what's great. I think that works best.
Because look, if I came over here with the best things or the best things made, it would just look a lot. We would have a lot of the same things as other lists, you know?
Yeah.
I meant to mention in the beginning, too, that for me, at least for me personally, the reason we do stuff like based on what we finished and I personally experienced in 2023, part of that is because I also don't watch or play enough of what comes out in that year. So like these people that make their top 10 games of 2023, I couldn't make a list of 10 games in 2023 that I played, I don't think. And same with movies probably. So it would just sometimes it would just end up being like a list of the games I've played. So it's not really as exciting as like actually narrowing down based on our experiences. So number 8 for me is going to be jumping into number 8. It's Super Mario Bros. Wonder. All right.
Ooh, nice.
Which is a great return to 2D Mario, for sure. Very unique, very creative. A lot of heart and personality put into it, for sure. My biggest complaint is also similar to Super Mario RPG. I don't know what's with them this year, but it's like just too easy, personally. Especially with how snappy the levels can be, you can blaze through levels pretty quickly. And I know certain people will not be able to fully appreciate the game because they're probably just speeding through. I'm like, wow, this is easy. But you really have to take the time I think, to get the full experience out of this game, you should be collecting everything. Because, like, the whole collecting aspect, it's not crazy difficult for the most part. And it gives you more experiences, like you getting all the Wonder Flowers. You get to see more of what makes the game special. And then, ultimately, for me, it's not for everybody, but it all amounts to the actual challenge of the game, which is the extra level you unlock when you've 100%ed every other facet of the game. It was a super tough challenge, maybe the hardest Mario level I've played through personally, But very satisfying challenge. Took me tons and tons of lives going through, but ultimately got that 100%. It was very satisfying, and that's really what elevated it to me. I don't know if it would have made my top 10 if it didn't have something like that to at least feel rewarding for putting in all that effort, you know. But yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Cool. I think I'll move right along, and I think next thing I'm gonna highlight will also be a video game. I finally came around to the bandwagon. I'm late to the party. It's like, what is this, 2015? I played Undertale this year.
Whoa.
And it was wonderful.
That's right.
And I had a wonderful time playing Undertale. It was just a delightful game. I didn't do all. I haven't done all 3 endings, I guess, but I did like the like major ones, I guess you could say. I did, what was it, hybrid, or the basically first playthrough, and then pacifist. I didn't go back through and do a genocide run. That's plans to do that, but very satisfying, fun, quirky, goofy, silly, stupidly silly game. I can see why the community scares people, or has like warded people away from the game, because like I did my best to try to avoid the annoying parts of it, but now I kind of understand why they were annoying about it, because it's really great, it's really fun, really quirky. And the community is also extremely creative. I know people have gone on and done, like, made fan games. Aside from Toby Fox himself, who's made Deltarune and all that afterwards, but I get it. Like, I get it finally, in the sense that, like, I played it. I'm hip with the kids now. But I think it's just such a fun little creative spark of a game. And really just like the story. It's a very touching story. It's a really good. The music is fantastic also. I don't want to put that down, diminish that in any way, because the music is amazing in this game. I've had, like, all the music in that game has just been stuck in my head. It does such a good job with leitmotifs, using the same themes to mean different things. Such good use. I can't say enough really good things about it. I really enjoyed my time with Undertale, and I'll probably be doing a genocide run later this year. So just to tick that box off too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, Undertale is something that probably I haven't been as interested in, just because it's always come across to me as just like a meme thing, just based on how it's talked about, like.
Well, here's a hot take. I don't think Megalovania is all that good. I don't think it's a very good piece of music.
You love that take, it's not.
I'm gonna be real.
It's just not true.
No,
it's just not true. It's the best piece of video game music ever composed. I'm not gonna be real.
First of all, it wasn't even made for that game. It was an Easter egg for starters,
from the Roblox
it was part of a
creator.
Previous project.
Oh.
No. What?
The guy who made the oof sound made that music track.
No, that's shut up. They're not talking about H Bomber guy's video about the oof. No. I'm
not to spoil my number one.
All the battle themes in the game are so much better than that. They're so much better, and I would say every track in the game is better than that. It's pretty much better than that too. I mean, it's fine. I understand why people like it, but it's not all that interesting of a piece of music. I'm gonna be real.
It's just because you heard it so much, though. We don't get you. We'll never.
I didn't, though. I really didn't.
We'll never.
I really haven't heard it all that much.
Really? You tell me?
No,
I really heard that to death before you even played the game. Because I've heard it to death without ever playing.
Well, here's another thing. You only hear that in the genocide run. It's the only time you hear it in the whole game.
I don't even know what that means.
So I've heard all that other music. Exactly. Well,
I
mean, I told you what it means. I mean, I didn't tell you what it means, but I told you the truth. You don't hear that except in that one run of the game. That one playthrough of the game is the only time that you hear it.
All right.
So,
So
so
well.
I haven't actually heard it in game,
Oh.
but I've heard it. I've heard it
Oh, okay. So that's what I'm
elsewhere.
saying. We don't live in a world. We'll never live in a world where we get to see Alex fresh, experiencing it in game, and not. It's got a meme overture to it, doesn't it? It's like
It does. It does a little
just
bit. It's
from the
weird.
context of it, you know. It's like you can't just
Yeah.
take it by itself without knowing. It's just like
Yeah.
Sans Undertale, Enter
Yeah. That's
Smash,
it.
you know, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
All right,
That kind
Undertale,
of nonsense. Yeah, but it's
Undertale,
good. I liked it. I liked it. It was fun.
excellent. My number 7 is a movie that my girlfriend got me to watch. I probably wouldn't have watched, or at least I wouldn't have watched it uh, this year otherwise, and that's A Star Is Born. All right,
Oh,
starring Lady
okay.
Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
It's a remake of an older film, I believe.
I
Memory
guess I
serves
guess
right.
so, but it's the only one I know. So
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too much detail because I think it would actually be a great movie for us to review, and
Oh,
I would
okay.
definitely like to do that in the future. But it's really nice. It's really well executed, in my opinion. There's definitely some parts of it where I'm like, okay, like the editing was a little weird at certain parts, and the writing wasn't perfect at other parts. Um, but overall, I really appreciated what it did more than anything, and I liked, the chemistry between the two actors. Like Lady Gaga actually did really well. Whenever you go into a movie where it's like some musician as the lead role, you're always going to be skeptical at first, right? But
Mm.
actually did really well, and I would be really interested to discuss it further. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I just really enjoyed it, and I'm grateful I got to watch it this year for the first time.
Nice. We'll talk about let's talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I
Is
saw that
your
this
number?
year.
This is number 6.
That's This is to be number 6 for me. Yeah,
All
yeah, yeah.
right.
So I saw that earlier this year, in 2023, not this year anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that in 2023. It was out in theaters. It's kind of a, it's kind of hard to say exactly, or hard to like put into exact words because um, it's difficult to know how to feel about the movie because it is a part one, and the movie doesn't necessarily. They don't. It was advertised as that like a long time ago, but not like recently, and I think people forgot that it was not a part one. I didn't. I knew that
Yeah.
what it was going in, but I think people forgot about that or didn't realize it. So, more people didn't realize that. So it is hard to kind of know how I feel ultimately until the story's finished because I will say the cliffhanger is like very abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it does feel very much like I need to know what the second half is to know how I genuinely feel about the movie. But that still remains to be seen. It's one of the best animated movies that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Wow.
So much so that it kicked off possibly one of the other ones that would have been on my list.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how much I enjoyed it. So
Okay. Wow.
yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, I love Spider-Man. I think I've basically solidified with having played through Spider-Man 2, the recent one that came out. I've been watching through the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies again, across the Spider-Verse early this year. I love me Spider-Man, man. It's my jam, and I mean, this movie like is just everything that I loved about the first one is just like is there again, and like even more gorgeously animated and more beautiful in terms of what it's doing. The story is just so it's kind of chaotic and all over the place as you would think a multiverse story is going to be. Um, I think to a degree I am sick of multiverses, but like I don't. There are some exceptions that I will make, and that is one of them. So I'm cool with them continuing that for their final film. So we'll hopefully see that later this year. But yeah, I mean, it was one of the I had an amazing time, and Like I on Letterboxd, I would give it 5 stars if I knew what the ending was, because the ending, if it sticks the landing, it's an easy 5 stars for me, because like I loved it. But I have it like as a 4.5 star because it's like it's hard for me to say how much I loved it until
Yeah,
until I know how it
but then you
ends.
can trash on the second part, right? Or you can't
Yeah.
review them in isolation, right?
Well, no. Well. The thing is, it's like you can't. That's the problem. Is that you cannot. It's very difficult to view them in isolation because they are basically
Or
like
in a vacuum,
like
I
I said,
guess.
it ends. What's that?
Or in a vacuum, I guess is what I'm going for.
Yeah, I don't know. You can't really though. That's the thing. I mean, like, I think it will be easier too when the second part is out. Is I think is more what I'm saying in terms of that. Like, it, if the second half does sort of like ruin it to a degree, like
Hmm.
it will spoil both products. But if it sticks to the landing, then they're both amazing. Like that's kind of like where I'm going there. So
Okay.
I don't want to like preempt my hype so much. I'm trying to keep tempered expectations because these things have been known to happen before to be ruined.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Halloween
um,
Resurrection fucked up H2O.
yeah, exactly,
It's just like that.
exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Um, but yeah. So yeah, Across the Spider Verse was amazing, and I loved every minute of it
I still have yet to see
until it
both of
ended. And
them.
I was going,
I still have yet to see both the Spider Verse movies. I've heard nothing but amazing things.
mm,
Like not just good things, amazing things. Always.
yeah,
Which makes me not
amazing,
want
like
to watch it.
Spider-Man. Okay, Mr.
'Cause-
Contrarian
yeah,
over here.
exactly. Exactly. My number 6 is Super Mario RPG. All right, bringing it back.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
already said I really appreciated what they did with it, and I hope there's more to come. I hope I get to put a Mario RPG on my list every year. Give it to me. Make it happen. Love it.
Make it happen, baby.
All right. And now the ball's back in your court, just like that.
Oh man, that was quick. Let's throw in
Number 5. We're in the top
number
5,
5.
folks.
We'll throw in The Boy and the Heron.
Let's throw them in.
Uh,
Studio
I
Ghibli.
saw this towards the end of last year. It came out in theaters. I think it was like late November, early December, and it wasn't there for very long. This is the most recent Studio Ghibli film. It is likely going to be Hayao Miyazaki's final film. Even though he keeps saying that every film that he's made is his last film.
How old is that
I think
man?
he started saying that. He's approaching 90, I believe.
Wow. A
So
legend.
yeah, yeah, he is a legend. That's for sure.
He can't stop himself.
So he cannot stop. He said Princess Mononoke was going to be his last movie.
That's
Like he said
crazy.
that. Like it was like that came out like 1997. He
Yeah.
said that was going to be his last movie.
That's a
Or did
true.
he say that then? No, I think he said it after Howl's Moving Castles when he said it.
Wow.
That was
Okay.
2005.
That's
He
the
said that was
true.
his last one, and then he made Ponyo, and then he said that was going to be his last one. And then
Yeah.
he made The Wind Rises, and they said that was the last one he was going to make.
This is
And then he came out of retirement and he made this.
that's a sign of a true auteur right there. He can't
Well,
help the
I
creative
think
juices flowing. Even at that old age, it's still flowing. It's good.
Isao Takahata has often said that like this, like he said that like he'll retire. He'll keep saying he's retired, but he can never. He can't. He can't stop. He can't stop making art. Like it's just again, it's not in his nature.
Mm.
Like he has to be doing something. That was the thing that like recently John Williams came out and rescinded his retirement. He's 91 years old. And he's like, nope, changed my mind. I'm gonna like that man's gonna keep composing and writing music and playing music till he's in the grave. And that's the thing. Like with these artists, it's like you can't keep them away from what they love. You really can't.
all these all these senior citizens coming out taking back their retirement. Like no, I take it back. Put me back in, coach.
Yeah.
They can't sit on the sidelines, not
Oh yeah.
not a little bit. It's like they're fucking it up. Let me back in. Like,
So
wow.
the boy and the heron. It's very difficult to talk about the film without like spoiling a whole lot.
Don't spoil it.
I will say that like I wasn't while I was watching it, I didn't know if I was liking it or not. And I think even as it after it ended, I had to sit with it for a good couple of days to really kind of think about how I felt about the movie, and then I realized it was partway through the movie, and then it was like a little bit after the movie was over. I kind of like everything sort of clicked with me, like in terms of sort of what the movie was actually talking about, like what the messages were, and sort of what was going on with the movie, because it is sort of in an essence like a distillation or elements of maybe every aspect of like all of his movies are in this movie to a certain degree. There's there's any name something that's probably in there. And
Cheeseburgers.
well, I mean, there's food. There's always food in Ghibli. I said name something
Nice.
in one of their films, and it's probably in there. I don't think cheeseburgers were in earlier Studio Ghibli films, but it's one of those movies that like I think even now, even with it being where it is on my list now, like this could be like the number one thing that came out last year for me. Like it's a film that like it desperately needs to be seen more than once, and it's a shame that I could only see it once before it was just gone out of theaters.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to whenever it's coming out on Blu-ray or 4K or wherever it'll come out on, and watching it again, and loving it. I mean, I realized how much I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's kind of a sit with you thinking about type of movie, which I guess makes sense because of the basis of the film was, and it's not really about this book at all, but it's sort of based on there's a book called How Then Do You Live? And it's sort of an introspective book that's sort of like tackling like questions about like how you go about like how you interact in society and like what the right moral thing is to do. And I think the book even ends with the statement, "How then do you live?" It's kind of asking you like this is the story about like how this person lives their life and all these things they do, and then it's sort of like a mission statement at the end to like for you to think about stuff in your own life. And I think the movie does that pretty well to a degree in and of itself. Sort of think about that for yourself, but also the movie itself is just layered with metaphor that that's what I mean. It's very hard to talk about without spoiling too much. So it's amazing. I mean, just visually, again, like a stunning masterpiece by that studio. And I mean, the world will weep many tears. Like, it's a blessing that he was on Earth to give us this stuff. Say what you will about how he's treated his son. A lot of people have memed about that.
Wait, what happened? How did he treat his son?
Hayao Miyazaki and his son. So Goro Miyazaki has also made Studio Ghibli films, and I'm gonna be real. At least the first one was not very good. And Hayao Miyazaki went to the premiere, and he didn't even congratulate him at the end. He like left without saying anything to him. And there was like scenes of this documentary that they're filming about it, and he like goes out and he like gets up in the middle of it and like goes out and like takes a smoke break, and he's just like, he says something like, "Oh, it's like watching a child doesn't know what he's doing." It's like Goro Miyazaki is like a grown man, and he's saying this about his son in this documentary, and it's like, it's kind of hardcore, it's kind of metal,
kind of hard.
He's that brutal, but Damn. Yeah, I mean, it's like he's 90 something. He comes from an older generation, so it's like
that.
It's a maybe kind of brutal, but brutal criticism in a way. But
love that walk out in the middle of the movie, light a cigarette. They just don't do it like me.
He's just a child. He's just a child.
He's just not built like me.
He doesn't know how to tell a story. Yeah, and then he leaves without congratulating him at the end because he didn't like it.
Nothing to congratulate.
He was honest. He didn't like it. He didn't really like it.
It's a big failure.
So
Wow. Love that.
people have been like, yeah, he's maybe not the best father to his son. And it's like that's probably the case, but
do we have like interviews of the son ever talking about their relationship or something? We need to get some.
I don't know. I don't know if there's that much about it, but
need to hear what he
I don't
says.
know. I don't know if there's that much. I mean, so here's the thing: they work together on from Up on Poppy Hill, and that movie's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Goro Miyazaki directed that one, but Hayao Miyazaki wrote the script, which I think may have been the solution there. Is that he's like, in order for you to direct another picture, I'm gonna have to be the one that writes it because that last one that stinks. The last one's terrible. For context, the film that Goro Miyazaki directed was called Tales from Earthsea, and is probably the worst Studio Ghibli film that exists.
Whoa.
It's not very good, but I like it, but it's not good.
I still have a lot of Studio Ghibli to watch, and I look forward to doing it. And The Boy and the Heron, I would definitely love to watch that soon. And from our film challenge on the Discord, I will be at least watching one Studio Ghibli movie this month. So Kiki's Delivery Service, I'll get to watch finally.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Classic film. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Cool. So my number 5 is just as esteemed in many ways. The impact it's had on us is truly unfounded, and that's Jackass number 2.
What? Where'd this come from?
Yeah, this year was the year of Jackass, where I was like, you know what? I'm randomly in the mood. I heard someone talking about it on a podcast that I liked. He was like, you know what? I just put on Jackass movies and it was fun. And so I watched Jackass the movie for the first time. And within like a couple weeks, I just binged through all of the Jackass movies. All right. And it's hard to ultimately pin down one, but Jackass number 2 might be the slightly better one of the bunch, you know. I wanted to have it represented here because it is very wild. It's like you can't really hold it and compare it to like these scripted works and productions and whatnot, because it's not what it is. These other films, you know. But it's truly a unique experience, and for some reason, I don't know why it hooked me so much, but it did. I was like fully in. I was like watching interviews and getting fully invested in everything. And this is also my bucket list movie review series for us as well, because it's just chaotic.
How do you even review that? That's the thing. Yeah. How do you review them?
Some of it's hard to watch, like actually for me, which I'm usually fine watching anything, but some of it's like, ugh. They just do some gross stuff. They do wacky. They do dangerous stuff. It's like, wow. But they somehow like captured like a generation of people that are enamored by it still to this day. My sister was obsessed with it back in the day, and I never just thought anything of it because I'm like, oh, there's just some dumb guys doing dumb shit. It's not for me. But you know, sometimes you do need some dumb shit in your life. You know, they're hurting themselves.
It's definitely a late Gen X, early millennial staple for sure. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, I knew about Jackass. Yeah, when I was in elementary, middle school, absolutely.
And I still haven't watched the show, which is where it all came from. But you know, it's funny watching back now because it's like Bam Margera was in that. You know, the early ones.
I was gonna mention because 2, you still had Bam, and it's kind of his classic. Like, you still sort of a beloved.
Yeah.
Because I watched I listened to some stuff about Bam earlier this year, and it made me kind of sad.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because,
it's tough because, you know, they did Jackass Forever years later with the guys like much older than they were in the first 3. And Bam was originally in there, but because of everything he was going through, he had to be removed basically because he couldn't keep it under control basically. And so he's been struggling for a while now, so that's unfortunate. But
Yeah, for sure.
But it's funny looking back because one of my favorite games on the GameCube was Tony Hawk's Underground 2, which is like it's got Bam Margera and it's got Steve-O
Mm.
as a cameo,
Yeah,
and it's
baby.
like it's like
Yeah.
that whole jackass type thing was infiltrated the Tony Hawk world, and I loved that game. Even when people heavily criticized that one in particular, I still love that one, and
Mm.
it's cool now to finally fully be in the jackass world. You know, it's something about it. It just hits something that you're sorely missing
It
from
hits
other
good.
entertainment. You know,
It hits different.
it does. All right,
All right.
number 4.
Number 4, I think I'm going to give to. Oh, how many things I got left on my list? 1, 2,
Ah,
3, 4 things left on my list. Okay, number 4 is Celeste. Talk about
whoa.
Celeste, which is another game I played. Finally played this. This was a Game of the Year contender back in 2017, I think, when it came out.
Hmm.
It was like against this and like Breath of the Wild and what else came out? Mario Odyssey. Having like Celeste be like a legitimate like Game of the Year contender was like a huge thing. That was like the first indie game to do something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, it was very deserving of it. I think it was. Um, I think it indie game design like primer. Like it's like you look at things like this, or Bastion, or Supergiant's most recent game Hades. I think are like excellent like frameworks to look into like pinpointing something that's big in games. So Celeste, you look at tight 2D challenging platformers, but building interesting mechanics, level designs, ideas, and weaving a story that is able to like utilize game mechanics in an interesting and like powerful way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and in a way that never makes you feel frustrated by it. Like the game counts as many times you die, and it says to where the amounts of times that you die proudly. Be like, no, you like that number isn't us. That number counting up shouldn't be seen as like a negative. Like that's you learning. You're learning the game by dying. Um, and weaving that the idea of this climbing this mountain, uh, it's just such a beautiful narrative that surrounds this really fun game with just amazing platform mechanics. I have yet to go back and finish the final level, which was like a last update DLC. I had been playing it for probably over an hour and 15, maybe even hour and a half. And I was like, I feel like I'm getting kind of towards the end. So I went to like a YouTube tutorial to be like, oh, like how far am I in it? I was maybe like an eighth of the way through the level,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, well, I'm good. That's how hard the last level is. It was
Wow.
basically made to be like, we are putting every hidden little mechanic that everyone's found out about this game. We're putting the limit test on that one, and like it's so hard, but like it's gonna be really rewarding whenever I chip away at that and finally beat it.
Wow.
But I'll put the back burner on it for now because the rest of the game already very satisfying, uh, very lovely game, and also another amazing soundtrack. Also, I just want to shout that out too. Like the soundtrack is so good. Um, can't say enough good things about that either. So yeah,
Okay. I would love to play Celeste. It's at like the top of my wish list right now. Ones I want to play. I think I would really enjoy it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up on one of my top 10 lists in the future. Honestly.
yeah,
So yeah.
it's really
Cool.
good. I really enjoyed it a lot. So
All right. Well, my number 4 is I'm noticing now. I actually I've had a good amount of Tarqaron things in here. My next thing
mm,
is a little movie that we reviewed with Lauren, and it's called The Little Mermaid. Baby, number 4.
Yeah. This was on my list that I was chipping
Yeah.
away at, and I was focusing on stuff we didn't talk about on Tarqaron. Kind of is like one of those just doesn't make it for me. But I mean,
That's fair.
you guys like I was already more positive about than I thought, but you guys really did swing me around to realize how much I did really enjoy this movie.
Yeah,
So
it's such a gem. Like I would say, there are definitely movies I watched that were better than this, that didn't make my
mhm.
lists for sure. But this one just felt more special to me, and I just really loved. I loved Halle Bailey's performance in it. I thought, I
Yeah,
mean, she made the movie what it was. Really, uh, I loved mostly what they did with it. I talked about some criticism I had, like some of the underwater stuff could be a little boring at times with Triton and whatnot.
mhm.
Uh, and a couple other minor gripes, but in terms of like what we've come to expect from a live action Disney remake, it far exceeded any expectations. I think that we had any right
Yeah.
to be, and yeah, it's one of those where it's like I would gladly watch this one. Uh, it's not like I have no reason to watch this one. It's obsolete by the original. I think this one has a lot of heart and personality on its own, that can stand
Yeah.
on its own 2 feet, or its own mermaid tail.
I see
And
what you did there.
Ariel would love to stand on her own 2 feet.
That's right.
So
That's right.
that's what I'm trying
That
to
was
say.
cute. Cute, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean,
gem. Oh.
yeah, for sure. I love this too. I mean, I said in our gift exchange when we saw Lauren again, but like this movie it inspired my Pathfinder character who I'm playing right now. Like it directly, like very very directly. Like my character is I am like a love struck human that wants to find a way to communicate with a mermaid
Wow.
because he's in
Yeah.
love with a mermaid, and like that's like a main quest for him. That's his personal goal. Is like I want to find a way to reunite with that culture somehow. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, it to me giving Eric like that song, that freaking song, man. It's like everything to me. Like that the redemptive giving the men songs in these live action Disney movies is like the best thing that they've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, the men have
Um,
had it
I
have had it rough for too long,
yeah.
and it's
Men have had it just
time
for
to get
too
the
rough for too
representation
long.
they
It's about
deserve.
time they get some. No, but seriously, like a lot of Disney princes were fairly bland,
Yeah.
and that's not even Beast isn't bland, but giving Beast a song in Beauty and the Beast, like that song to me is like uh, Evermore is like everything about that movie to me. It's like
Mm.
that's like kind of the almost like the reason to be is like so Alan Menken can write a song like that again. Um, and then having Lynn and him work on music for this Little Mermaid
Have you
and
heard
have
about the
them,
scuttlebutt? I mean, you have to have heard of it.
yeah,
Have
yes,
you heard?
okay. Well, we won't go into that. That was embarrassing, but they did at least come up with the song that I can't remember the name of. Darn it.
uh,
Um,
um,
it's such a hit that I'm talking up that I can't even remember
the
the name of it.
what, the one where she lost her voice? Is that one?
Wild Uncharted
Oh,
Waters. That's it.
wild uncharted
Yeah.
waters.
Uncharted waters,
Okay.
far beyond the sea.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. I love it.
This will forever be cemented in the S tier of live action Disney remakes for me. It's up there with Beauty and the
Yeah, I
Beast
think.
and
Yeah,
The Jungle Book for sure.
Cinderella.
I
Oh,
haven't seen
in Jungle
Cinderella,
Book, yeah.
so
Cinderella's like
really.
maybe A, but it's really great. So, well, that's yet to come on that.
Yeah,
So
and
we'll have to go back.
it's also a very special movie for my girlfriend too. So she was really anticipating it
Mm,
coming up, and then
yeah.
I think she loved it too. So, and I was always like, when she was excited about it, I was like, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna like my review of it, because I might be
because we might hate
harsh
it.
on it,
Yeah.
But turns out nothing to worry about. It was all good,
Yeah.
and we had to give it up for Melissa McCarthy at the end of the day. We had to give a
We
round
did
of
at the end of the
applause. There we go.
day. We liked Melissa McCarthy in this movie. How about that?
We had to hold that.
You know, wonders never cease. Wonders never cease.
It's the magic of Disney and what it does for us.
Um,
All right, what's next for your list? Number 3? Are we at number 3?
Number three. Number three is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Whoa.
Which is a movie that we watched for the Film Buffs challenge that we had earlier this year. I watched The Thing. I was over at my parents' house. I don't remember what exactly happened. I was taking care of the cat. I think they were gone for like Labor Day weekend. I think they'd gone somewhere. And so I was visiting the house. So it was like a weekend right around my birthday, and I had the house to myself, and I got to watch a handful of movies, and that was one of the ones I sat and watched, and I turned all the lights off, and I watched it in my childhood home. I got to watch John Carpenter's The Thing, and it was just such a delight to watch one of the best horror movies that I've ever seen, and one of my favorite movies that I've ever seen, period. I loved it. I loved it. And I look forward to repeat viewings years to come. Much more qualified people have talked about it better than I could possibly. But I loved it. It's going down. Yeah, it's going down. It's going down. The Thing is going down as like one of the all times for me, all time favorites. So
what thing are you talking about? It's like it's like it is gonna be the best. The Thing is the best thing I've ever seen. What are you talking about? Be specific.
It follows.
Yeah,
that's another horror movie. Yeah, It Follows, The Thing.
No, it doesn't. It follows Pennywise.
Yeah. Oh.
It's the modern.
No.
It's the modern Who's on First.
Yeah.
With the
awful. I hate it.
And The Thing. Yeah. All right. Cool. I mean, I love John Carpenter.
Anyway,
I would love to see that myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I loved it.
All right. My number 3. What was the song? He's your favorite fearless hero. It's Puss in Boots, The Last Wish.
Oh, heck yeah.
All right.
Heck yeah.
We gave it 9.5 out of 10 movie. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that we saw it in January. I thought we saw it in December.
Yeah.
Last year. So that's why I wasn't even thinking about it, because I thought it was like, oh, we saw it just after Christmas. But no, it came out like the day after Christmas, and I saw it like 3 weeks later, and I totally forgot.
Yep.
I totally forgot that we saw it in
January. I saw it
January
2nd myself.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on after doing the top 10 last year. I'm like, I said Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is already like the top of the list. Can anything pass it? I mean, this was guaranteed number 1 almost for the next year. So I was like, there's no way Alec's not gonna have this on his list. I thought for sure it's gonna be up there. This is 9. We look at 9.5 out of 10. How much better are these 10 things that you have on your list than a 9.5 out of 10 movie? Puss in Boots: The Last Wish needs its recognition. It needs some respect.
It does need some respect, and it would have been on my list had I actually remembered that it came out this year.
It's a travesty.
This is why logging is going to be. This is why logging is going to be really good. So, because I think because it technically came out in 2022, and yes, we did see it in 2023. I think in my brain, like I forgot that Dungeons and Dragons came out in March until like like an hour before
All you
we
had to
were
do was
recording.
look at our top 10 of 2022, and you would see it's not there, and it would have been there if we had seen it.
I didn't. Well, here's the thing. Remember, I wasn't considering Tarqaron stuff for a lot of this.
I don't know why. They're movies, they're games. Mario RPG
I don't
is
know.
here.
I don't either.
I mean,
I don't know either. Well, no, I just wasn't. I was thinking separate from that, and then I was like, oh wait, maybe I should have thought about that all along. And then yeah, well,
you disappointed me, son.
Well, I mean, I could audible one of the ones that I have here and throw it in.
And then suddenly your number 2 is not on your top 10. What kind of list is this? It's a sham.
Yeah. this list is kind of a sham.
Put together with some Scotch tape.
My list.
Piece of shit.
My list is a sham. It is a sham.
Mine was thoughtful. I was thinking of it the whole week, putting it together.
I have been too.
It's not. I never had to consider what was there. I just look at my list. This is all the things I watched this year, and of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The thing that I said last year is already slotted in the next top 10.
Zach, give me a break. I had a rough year with work. I can't remember what's going on half the time.
All right, I'm just living on cloud 9 over here. I'm just having a great. All right.
You're just having a great time. Well, yeah, this movie was amazing, though. Not to take anything away from it.
You gotta give it up for some Puss. You gotta give it up.
Yeah.
And they killed it with this movie. It was. Watch our review of it. It exceeded all expectations and then some. It had no right being as good as it was. It was when we first knew it was coming, like the year before or whatever. It was just the obligatory, since we reviewed all the Shrek movies, we're gonna have to review Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. No one was really like heavily looking forward to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and then it came out and was an absolute banger. Crazy good. One of the best animated movies I've seen in some time. You know, I haven't seen the Spider-Verse movies myself, but it's so good.
I mean, this is, to me, honestly, like speaking frankly, this is like, it's between this and Spider-Verse, it's very difficult to say like what one I like more. Because I will say like both of them are two of the best animated films that I've ever seen. And I do mean that for both of them. I mean, like it's hard to it would be hard to say, even if I was to reanalyze the list, remembering that I still don't know if I would fit it on.
Spider-Verse is definitively leagues above Puss in Boots: Last Wish. Didn't even make the top 10. Spider-Verse is firmly up there.
Didn't make the top 10. That's right.
All right.
Again, wanted to talk about stuff that wasn't just on Tarqaron. So I didn't even look at Tarqaron.
That's bad. All
right. Bad form. That's
one of my favorite movies in recent memory. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Lay it on me. What's your number 2? It's so much better.
Number 2 is actually something that we talked about at Tarqaron.
Yeah.
And that's Oppenheimer. And I want to actually highlight the reason that I have this on here also is because of Barbenheimer, I would say. That whole experience made just this whole everything about getting to experience Oppenheimer in theaters with a huge crowd just a delight. Because I also got to see Barbie with a crowd, and that was a lot of fun too. Barbie was a fun movie. I don't think it's as good as, and I didn't have as. It's probably more fun, just generally speaking, than Oppenheimer. But Oppenheimer like really moved. I think. Yeah, I would say it moved me. It was a great movie. I saw it because I saw it a couple of times because I saw it for Barbenheimer and then I saw it with my folks. And it's a powerful movie. I mean, I think Nolan is one of my favorite living filmmakers, and I think this is an excellent case in point as to why. I mean, it's just an extremely well thought out, sensitive, well acted, well written, well shot. I mean, everything about it is just masterful in everything, every sense of it. And I think what heightened it even more so above everything else was the fact that we had this weird goofy phenomenon that happened this year, and it just made it all the more fun that that there was this much buzz and excitement for a biopic, essentially, a movie about a historical figure that not mass audiences don't necessarily know by name. They do now, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just these weird juxtaposition of a dark, serious, important, even if it's maybe self-important but important movie, and like a fun popcorn flick, So it's like stuff like that is great.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that it really got lightning in a bottle in terms of, on paper you would never expect it to be one of the biggest movies of the year. It seems like it would be a very niche movie, right? Because it's not the most like easily marketable thing on the surface, right? A movie about Oppenheimer, and it just so happened to work out in such a way, and it was so good that it managed to. It was a combination of it being such a good product and the Barbenheimer thing that really just made it skyrocket in visibility, And this one did not make my list, and that's pretty much exactly what I was thinking of when I was saying that like some movies are objectively better than some of the movies I have on my list, but they're just not my personal favorites.
Yeah.
That's just for me, though. Just for me, it wasn't exactly what I wanted entirely.
Yeah, there's another movie that was on my list, but I've actually kicked off for that reason, and we'll get into that when we go to honorable mentions. But this to me was just it fits everything that I like in movies too much that like I did genuinely. I would say like outside of its greatness as a film, like it's something that like does speak to me at the core.
Yeah.
So it's history. It's one of my favorite directors. It's got like all those elements going for it, and then just the experience as well. So,
all right, my number 2. It's another Tarqaron review, baby.
hey.
It's Parasite.
Yeah, this is one that I should have gone through. It's not on my list.
How is this not on your list?
I know. I don't know, Zach. I don't know. This list is a sham. This list is an absolute sham. There was two. This is what I mean.
I thought for sure like we were going to be overlapping in these top 5 here.
No, we're not top. This is the thing where it's like there's too many things. There were too many things that I liked this year. There's too many things
that some of the best things have to go. They just have to go. They have to leave. See, this is why we have to. We gotta hold ourselves accountable here. When the things are early in the year, I just said we forget them easily. You even mentioned it. If you forgot Dungeons and Dragons, how about you look back at some of the other things you might have forgotten? Like Parasite wasn't even that early, was it? Like,
I thought it was last year. I thought it was not last year, 2023. I thought it was 2022.
Wow,
isn't that crazy? Yeah,
it is crazy.
It is crazy. Actually crazy.
All it takes is a legitimately crazy on their page. This is tough. Parasite is. I'll give it the recognition it deserves. It didn't win Best Picture 2019 for nothing. Yes, it came out in 2019, but the funny thing about how our list. The funny thing about how our list works is that it doesn't matter when the movie came out. It matters when we watched it. This is why I preface this.
That's right.
And just so happened that I think we both
Zach,
watched it this year, and you're saying Parasite is not in your top 10? Man, this must have been killer. Your top 10 is out of this world.
It's like my top 10 is. I mean, it's like I said, my top 10 is. It's just all over the place. Undertale. It's all good.
All right, so Parasite. Parasite is excellent. I mean, it really was a very important movie in terms of breaking down barriers and like get a movie that's not in English, like put it up on a pedestal and winning awards and things. It was unheard of at the time, unfortunately, and really cool. I think it's really super effective, well done, just excellent movie throughout, and super engaging. You're hooked. They get you hooked from the beginning, and then you're just all in whatever is gonna unfold, and it keeps surprising you.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's excellent. You know.
Yeah, it's an amazing film. I mean, I think uh, great like class commentary too. I know it is geared very much more towards like South Korea, but I think a lot of that can be that can still have like meaning for Western audiences too. I think, and um yeah, I mean, like I got a lot out of it from a lot of its sort of the social criticism and stuff of it, and I think it's great. I think it's a great movie for sure.
Not good enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, not good enough.
Number one.
You're
Your
gonna love
favorite thing
You're gonna
of
love
the
my
year.
number one, Zach. You're gonna love my number one.
I don't know why. I'm scared.
You're gonna love it. My number one is Scott Pilgrim Takes Off.
What am I supposed to not like that? I
I
mean,
don't know.
That's fine.
You're gonna love it, Zach.
That's fine.
You'll love it. No, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, baby.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen
it.
it, but if you say it's better than Parasite, then I'll take your word for it.
I watched through the show twice, close to 3 times. I love it. And I loved it. It was great. I don't know what else to say about it.
It's great to hear.
This is great.
It's great to hear.
I mean, it's like I mean, it's just a fun animated show. I mean, it's kind of this weird thing where it's not getting by certain Western anime communities, as in myanimelist.com, doesn't consider this anime. It's not on myanimelist.com, despite the fact that it was produced by a Japanese studio. It got a Japanese dub at the same time as the English dub, and was marketed towards Japanese audiences. So I don't know why it's not considered that. I guess because it has, it's a Western property, even though that doesn't matter, or it shouldn't matter, because I'm pretty sure stuff like what was the samurai show with Afro Samurai is on my anime list. Afro Samurai doesn't even have a Japanese dub.
Yeah.
So
Samurai Jack on there too.
No, it's not. That's a Genndy Tartakovsky show. But Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, fantastically animated. It's not just an adaptation of the comics. It's not an adaptation of the film. It's actually an entirely new story that sort of takes the framework and kind of goes in a completely different direction after the first episode than you may be expecting. And what turns into is just one of the most wonderful little stories that comes off in Scott Pilgrim. So getting to go into one of my favorite movies of all time, and getting to and franchises of all time. I like the comics a lot too. And just getting to spend more time with these characters. Everybody is voices that was in the movie, voices all the characters in the English dub. They're all amazing. They do a spectacular job. And having everybody there, Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Jason Schwartzman, Chris Evans, Kieran Culkin, having the whole gang back is just a delight. And it's just like, I loved it. I mean, I can't really speak too much more highly than that. I mean, I really just loved my time with it. And yeah, it was good stuff.
Oh, wow, there it is. Alec's favorite thing of the year. And we're not talking about the thing. All right.
Yeah, we're not talking about the thing. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off was pretty wonderful. For anybody who's a Scott Pilgrim fan, I mean, I think there were some people that were upset that it wasn't another adaptation, but like, whatever. Just read the comics again or just go watch the movie again. They're both amazing too. But like having another thing, not the thing, but having another thing in the Scott Pilgrim world, in the Scott Pilgrim canon,
Mm-hmm.
Who can complain about that? Like, when's this going to happen again? Probably never. But the fact that we got the whole crew back for another go round is just. I mean, I had a wonderful time, and I'll probably watch it many more times in the years to come
Very
because it's
cool.
just that good.
Very cool. All right, my number
Yeah.
one. My favorite thing that I experienced in 2023 is. Do you have any idea what I'm gonna say?
I mean, I was actually going to guess Parasite would be number one, so
Well, this one's a
I,
cut
I'm not
above the
sure.
rest. So I'll tell you what.
Okay. Okay.
It's and I'm gonna give my number one is Knives Out, bitch. Knives
Oh
Out.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's just called Knives Out. I don't think this is okay.
Knives Out, bitch. All right.
All right,
So
take that, Thanos in
that's
in the
right.
Discord.
Oh, that's just
Uh,
appalling to me. That yeah. But truly, it's been a long time since any movie has thoroughly captivated me and engaged me, had me engaged fully throughout. Than this movie. It's
wow.
really awesome. I loved it. It had so much personality, and it really was, one of the most filmy films I've ever seen, and I love it for it. I love the acting, the over the top characters. I mean, they picked a great cast to play in this. I loved the whole whodunit aspect to it, the twists and turns of it. I love Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. I loved him. He killed in that role, and truly, it's really one of my favorite movies. Period. Now, just like hit everything I love about a movie, and they're gonna be doing more Knives Out type stories and stuff, and they did
Mm-hmm.
Glass Onion, which I
Mm-hmm.
watched also, and it immediately made it apparent that I don't think we'll ever be able to recapture the magic of Knives Out. For me, like it's like they set the bar so high that Glass
Mm.
Onion was just okay, and Knives Out
Yeah.
was like leagues above it, and one I'll remember for some time. So I don't know. They're gonna be making a bunch more, so I don't know if they'll ever be able to get back into that truly, but Knives Out, very grateful I only watched it because of the film challenge we did on their Discord, where we get assigned movies to watch within a deadline. So that really pushed me in that direction to finally watch it, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there it is, the top 10 of 2023. So
Well, Zach's better top 10 than my sham list. So
give it up.
give it up for Alec's sham list of 2023.
That's I thought we were gonna be vibing on similar wavelengths here. Super Mario RPG
Yeah.
was gonna be just the start,
Yeah.
and then of course we're gonna hit towards the top. We're gonna get Parasite, Puss in Boots, The
Parasite.
Last Wish.
Puss in Boots.
Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
in some order. It's like I thought I was prepared to be like, okay, you just hit that for number 3. Yeah, that's my number 2. And we'll come together and
Yeah.
unify on that.
Well,
but no,
well,
if it's reviewed on Tarqaron,
well,
it must be a piece of shit.
it's not.
Just throw it out with
That's
the rest
not.
of it.
That's not why. That's not what happened.
All right, well.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a mission to not put Tarqaron things on our lists. Otherwise,
I wasn't. I mean, like it wasn't an intentional. It was a very subconscious mission.
mission.
Yeah, it was a subconscious mission.
I thought you were saying omission, but like apostrophe
No.
in front of instead of the O. Like it was a very subconscious mission.
Yeah, subconscious mission.
All right,
I mean,
just for that, take a look at my
means-
AirPod case I got for Christmas. Everybody,
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's
Just take a look at that. That's the face that's gonna haunt my dreams now
amazing.
because Zach's putting a Shrek's curse on me for
Yep,
not remembering
in the spirit of Puss
what
in
we
Boots:
watched.
The Last Wish, who, just by virtue of us watching it right after the end of the year does not get acknowledged in any awards, and that's what's wrong with the awards shows these days, huh?
Yeah,
I always forget
it's
about the
true.
early ones.
It's true.
It's
I
bullshit.
didn't though. I saw I saw one 2 days after. One of the ones on my list is uh like the weekend after we recorded.
Right.
So
But somehow,
yeah,
yeah. Wow.
yeah. Maybe we should make Tarqaron stuff exempt.
No, we should not. Not just because you can't in your mind fathom things that we've reviewed.
I know.
What kind of shit is
Well,
that?
that's my That's my bad. Yeah,
We
it's just a
literally saw,
terrible idea.
was talking about last year how it was interesting to see what Tarkaron stuff will get in the mix, and this year it was like more than ever we're gonna get Tarkaron stuff. That just means we're
Yeah.
reviewing good stuff. Now I'm gonna say no, we shouldn't review this because I want it to be in my top 10.
No, I didn't say
No
that.
exemptions for
Yeah, no, I was.
greatness.
That was a. That was a. That was a. That was a. I
Bad
was
call.
joking. I didn't mean that.
Bad call. I
Um.
had 5 of my top 10 were things we reviewed on Tarkaron. So
I had, let's see, Mario
half of
RPG,
it.
Puss in Boots. Except I didn't have that, so I had.
You didn't have
So I
that.
had Mario RPG and Oppenheimer. That was what I had. I think those are the two.
Yeah.
So
Wow. We can make exceptions for Oppenheimer, all right? Because it's the
yeah.
industry darling, all right? You sell
Yeah,
out,
and Parasite's not right. Wins Best Picture.
all
That's
right?
not an
Against
industry
all
darling.
odds. I mean, let's give it up.
Was it against all odds? What else came out that year? I'd like to know.
Yeah, but any other year, they wouldn't have even acknowledged that Parasite came out. You know, it was a miracle it even made it onto the stage.
Oh,
You know,
okay, okay, all right, Mr. Parasite.
Mr. Parasite over
Do you have
here.
any honorable mentions? Do
Oh
you have any
yeah.
honorable mentions?
Oh yes. Honorable mentions. Let me see.
I do.
I
Off
do, of
top.
course. I do, of course. My most honorable mentions, my obvious ones, are the games that I didn't finish that might very
Hmm.
well show up in 2023. And I have a couple games that would probably be my game of the year if I did finish them. Final Fantasy 16 comes to mind. I love Final Fantasy 16. I actually just hopped back into it. Uh,
Hmm.
the first day of January, I'm like, I want to make it happen this year. I want to get it eligible for the list. And same with Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. I actually hit both of them up, the 2 Final Fantasy games
Oh,
here.
I I just started playing Theater Rhythm last night as
Yeah.
well for the first time.
And I'm like,
So
that's a
yeah.
shoe in for my top 10. I know I'm going to finish that this year. I just know I'm going to do it. So those 2. Also, the one game I mentioned that was early on last year that I thought might have gotten less credit just because it's not as top of mind as some of the other games was Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. I played that I
Oh
think
yeah.
back in January also, which was
Hmm.
great. And then the one I was teetering on between it and Astro's Playroom was New Super Lucky's Tale, which I also played this year.
Ooh, very
Uh,
nice.
I played a bunch of games. I beat the most games this year than I have in the past several years, so I had a lot to choose from. But yeah, so those are my games honorable mentions at least.
Yeah, some of mine are like I think again Final Fantasy 16. I did get enough of uh, uh, playthrough of Tears of the
Tears
Kingdom
of the
to I
Kingdom,
think to
yeah.
get a nice vertical slice of. It's a game that easily could have made my game of the year. It could have made my number one if I
Oh,
beat it
and Hogwarts
this year.
Legacy,
I think
I know would have been on my
yeah,
list.
yeah, Hogwarts Legacy. I think if I didn't even get around to even starting it, so um, but so that's at least for games. I think like other games would include things um, like Hollow Cure was a game that I played. That was more like stuff that be made mention on a soon to be released Otaku Brothers community episode.
Oh,
We'll have some of the stuff that kind of highlights and things that I had in there. But like other games that I beat were like Resident Evil Code Veronica. Like I had an amazing time with that, and um, you know, but some things got to give. At the end of the
um,
day.
And
That's in terms of
then
games, anyway.
yeah, those were the games really. And then though I did play, I played. This was a tough one for me. I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, but I only beat the first one, and so I kind of
Mm,
want to only consider it once I've beaten both. But that was a
hmm
shoe, and that was probably second favorite game that I played this year. It was really well done.
That game is really spectacular. What they did for that game. Yeah.
But in terms of movies, I had the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's an honorable
Oh
mention.
yeah.
I watched the original Peter Pan. Um, of course, Oppenheimer for me. And
Yeah.
then I watched some other great ones like Top Gun, The Shining, the first time. We watched Sweeney Todd. So these are all
hmm
ones that are definite honorable mentions for me.
So for me, it'd be like Killers of the Flower Moon. Um, that film is amazing. Um, but I think that was one of those ones where it's like it's not like a fun movie, but it was great, and I really like going to see that with my dad. Um, Other movies would be like this is something that uh, John Wick Chapter 4. I went to see that,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved it. I mean, this could have made my top 10 as well. Like, I loved it. I've not. Here's interesting thing. I've not seen any other John Wick movie. I haven't seen any of them. I knew nothing about any of the other ones, but my friend Dan was like, "Hey, I'm going to see it. You want to come?" And I was like, "I haven't seen any of the other ones." He's like, "Doesn't matter. I'll explain the third one because that's the one with the most plot. I'll explain that like on the way." And then he did, and that was basically all the plot I needed because it didn't matter really. It didn't matter at all. I loved it. I loved I loved every second of that movie. It was so good. But yeah, that didn't quite make the list either. Yeah, I think like you said, Super Mario Brothers movie was up there. I think there was another movie I was thinking of, but I think that's about it for movies for the most part for me.
Okay. Anything else? Any shows you watch?
TV. So Wednesday was a show that I watched through with my folks last year. We just finished it recently, and I really liked it. I thought it was very, very fun, very charming. I really liked it a lot. Um, I I honestly, because of logging, I cannot for the life of me remember when I finished Breaking Bad. I might have finished it this year. I may have finished it in 2022. I don't remember.
Oh, I'm sure you
Breaking
finished it
Bad,
this year. Isn't that for sure? I thought for sure.
I don't know. Probably was because I started Better Call Saul this year, so it probably was.
Time to
But I
put some
haven't finished Better
respect
Call
on
Saul
Breaking
yet either.
Bad. Time
So
to put some respect on Breaking
yeah,
Bad as well.
I didn't even put respect on Breaking Bad.
Just
So this is how
respect.
sham of a list my list
Oh
is. So it's
man.
the worst top 10 list that
And
Tarqaron's ever had. It's only
we'll
the
look
second
back
one,
on.
and Alex, I'll look back in shame
We'll look back on
for
this
all the
one
things that
forever.
I left out of my
Yeah, it's
list.
crazy. Breaking Bad
Um,
not making the top 10.
Breaking Bad, Breaking
Undertale
Bad
does it
doesn't make the
again.
Undertale.
Fucking Undertale. It's so good though. It's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, Breaking
You
Bad
just
was
love
amazing. I mean, it's like one
Megalovania.
of the best shows ever made. I just get out of here. Um,
Wow.
and I'm trying to think if there's any other shows. Castlevania. I haven't like finished the like because I think there's 4 seasons of the main show. So I've finished
Hmm.
2, and I've gone through like half of another one, and that's been fun. I don't know if it was like quite top 10, but it was a definitely up there. It's been really very enjoyable to watch. Um, and I think that's about it for
All right.
shows.
All right. Well, great. I had a fun time discussing the list at least.
At the very least, yeah.
Mm.
Top 10 question mark on my end.
Yeah, I mean,
Going
mine
on.
was very well thought out, and I can rest easy with mine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real. Like, I alluded to it a little bit on the gift. Maybe I didn't say it in the gift exchange, but like last year was not like the best year like for me, just in general. I don't really like make a whole lot of um it was one of those things where like I don't think I realized it until like I started thinking like towards the end of 2023 when I started thinking about my year in review. Actually, it was like when I was thinking about this stuff. I did not have a very good year last year, just
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking. Like work really just like took all the joy out of everything for me. So like doing stuff on this channel was like really such a delight that I should have probably actually gone back and looked at what we
At
did with the
our
channel
channel.
because that was the at our channel.
I
That really was
mean,
the highlights of the year.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean there's just a lot there's a lot of because it wasn't even anything specific. Like it's not like I wasn't like in a it wasn't anything like specifically bad that happened. It was just like I feel like I was at my most scatterbrained, disorganized mess of a self last year. So like
Mm.
I think that reflects in whatever my list ended up in. So I think moving forward, actually having a log of what I'm doing will probably help my brain a lot.
It helps wonders. I
So
wouldn't remember. I wouldn't remember this stuff. That's why I started doing this because I couldn't remember when I finished things, and then I would look back and like, what did I finish this year? I don't even know. But now I can look at and see ever since 2017, I can see all the stuff I finished. I have it on the spreadsheet right in front of me. Uh, so yeah, it's a lifesaver and for this kind of
well,
stuff we do.
it's but it's crazy because like I used to be really good at remembering that stuff. Well, to a degree, I still am. I guess it really depends on certain specificities, but I
Hmm.
don't know. Usually, I'm pretty good at being able to pinpoint a lot of that stuff. Like, because when I'm remembering, I'm usually good at remembering like where I was, what state of mind I was in, and like what I was going through, and I can really like pinpoint a lot of like specific moments with like when I'm watching things or like when I'm experiencing things. But like outside of outside of very specific things this past year, that I think that was the problem is that I had a difficult time placing myself in a lot of things. So most of the major highlights for me outside of like this in review were things like um when I got to go to New York for to see one of the last shows of Phantom, or when I went on vacation to Booth Bay Harbor with my family for probably the last time before my parents moved to Virginia. I mean, it is the last time before they moved to Virginia. So it's probably the last time I'm ever going there in the same way that I went there when I was younger.
Hmm.
Or the two times that I got to see both my college friends that we rented houses back in August and then again in November. Like those are the major, like huge, massive highlights for me outside of just content and media.
Yeah.
And like those are things that like I I feel like I will be able to more easily place like where I was and how I was doing because of like how positive those were. Whereas like lots of amazing things, lots of wonderful things that I saw this year, but it's like outside of very specific things like The Thing or like Oppenheimer, it's kind of hard to like sort through the weeds like where I was exactly with some of that. So I think some of that too. So anyway, not to drive everything down. This is supposed to be celebrating, but
Hmm.
I think just I'm thinking about it. I think that might possibly have something to do
Well,
with why. So
we might have a little bit of a chance for redemption in a couple weeks when we do the Blastia Awards, all right? And it'll be our chance to look
yeah,
at specifically the channel and everything. We always do highlight a little bit of the things we reviewed as well, so give out some awards there. Maybe that'll be
well, I have to look
interesting.
forward to that. I mean, that's always a great time.
Hmm. And some of
Yeah.
my just my stats for the year, just so I can see if I can match or come close or exceed these in this new year. So altogether, I've watched between the movies, the seasons, and the games. I had a total of 74 things from the year. I had 38 movies, 17 TV seasons, 19 video games. All right, 15 of those TV seasons were reality ones, I think. Just about. So, all in all, on this list, I could have I had about 60 options to choose to pare down to a top 10 here. But yeah, this was the year I watched the most movies in all the years I've tracked. So 2017 on, this is the most.
Wow.
One of my lower ends for the TV seasons, though, and also my highest end for video games. I also would really like to get into books. I always I'll track books as well, but I never have a book to track because I haven't been reading anything. So I would like to do that too. But yeah, I'll see how 2022 fares. I always like to experience more. I know I'm gonna have a lot going on, and more memories and stuff.
2024.
In 2024.
2022. Okay.
I said 2024. Check the tapes. But yeah, I'll see how 2022 fares. I always like to experience more. Right? We'll play it back.
Check the tapes. I maybe something messed up on my end. I heard 2022. Maybe you said 2024 too.
2024 to 4.
Return.
Yeah. 2022 for
2022 No, I can't. My brain can't handle it. So.
Oh, I also played Spiritfarer this year too. It's a good game.
Oh, that's good.
But here's to the new year. Make some new memories here on the channel and in general. Maybe we could, we both would really like to do something for our anniversary. We'll see if we can make it happen or not. See if it's in the cards. And
that'd be good.
That'd be great.
Good to do.
But until next time, we've got some very cool videos coming up these next couple of weeks. All right, so stay tuned for those. And if viewers, I realized that we didn't do this in a Survivor episode, did we? What video would you recommend our viewers watch next?
Yeah, I guess we did not do that, but that's okay. We plumbed them for a comment. Okay. You should go check out check out our 2022 in review. I think it's a great list. I mean, I was actually watching it back earlier today, and we had a lot of good stuff to talk about back then. So go check that list out too.
Cool, for sure. I had one other thing I wanted to say. Feel free to let us know some of your favorite things that we missed out on this year, or maybe make your own little top 10 lists of the things you specifically experienced in the year.
Let me hear it in the comments about the stuff how
They're
horribly
not going to be as
mismatched.
personally affected probably as I am, because I was there experiencing it alongside you, and these aren't things that came out this year that they're going to be anticipating on a top 10 list, but
that's true.
You don't know the true pain you've caused. But maybe Rusty, if you're watching this, you gotta tell him he
know the pain.
He watched Parasite, the movie that you encouraged us and got us to watch on the channel. We watched Parasite.
But I gave it 10 out of 10.
And he gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. I gave it damn near close to it. But I still put more respect on its name at the end of the day. I put it in the top 10. It didn't even crack the top 10 for me. So what do you think of that? Sound off in the
What
comments.
do you think? Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching. This is a big one. This is a long haul. So if you stuck it out, I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. Like the video, leave a comment, and if you do, we'll read it in the next episode of the Tarqaron podcast. As always, click the link in the description for our social media and hit that notification bell as well. All right.
Take
care.